Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. We're really excited to share with you some of the ideas we've come up with. I'm Noah Catton and I'm from Grand Haven.
I'm Lilia Thomas and I'm from West Ottawa.
Toby Brafke and I'm from New Zealand.
I'm Anna Dunnigan from Hamilton.
And I'm Kristen Schock from Saugatuck.
Haworth gave us the task to design the ideal classroom of the future. So let's start with the problem. Current classrooms don't work. And that's because they don't model a real working environment. We need to prepare students for their future, not our past. Over the years, classrooms really haven't changed that much. They've stayed very static, everybody sitting in rows with the teacher at the front of the room, writing on the chalkboard or the whiteboard, and nothing's really changed. Schools are built and designed like prisons, meaning everything's the same color, there's not a lot of windows with natural light, and it just feels very claustrophobic.
One of the main problems is technology is being more and more integrated into the learning environment. As you can see, 33% of all students in the United States currently have a technology device in their everyday learning environment that's provided by their school. All these schools here are schools that have already passed bonds or are going to pass a bond to get these devices in the classroom. And as you can see, the classroom itself does not facilitate working with these devices. The students have bad posture and they really can't collaborate with each other and use the devices efficiently. Being a student of Zeeland East myself and using these devices for the past 3 years in the classroom, I can tell you that the classrooms we have right now don't work with the devices.
We took a look at a few effective and innovative business spaces, and we saw that all of their successful workers had 6 skills in common. They were able to collaborate well with their peers, they were able to give and take constructive feedback, and they were flexible with what they were working with. They were also innovative thinkers, dependable with the tasks they were given, and they had an independent initiative.
The use of the word work is intentional. We want our classroom to exemplify an effective modern workspace. Through our research, we had the chance to visit many modern workspaces, such as Haworth and the Image Group downtown Holland. These spaces, we saw so many of them, and we just wanted to show in a few of these slides a couple different ones. This is an informal space where people feel comfortable and are more open and willing to share their work and ideas.
We learned that we need to incorporate many styles of spaces. So as you can see, we have a lot of free space, but also places to work and collaborate.
Along with the large collaboration areas, we also thought the smaller group spaces were really cool because we researched and found that 2 to 4 people is optimal for effective group work.
Assigned workspaces are designed for maximum productivity, and they can be used in independent work as well as collaborative work.
Another work area that we found in innovative businesses was the unassigned work area. We found that sometimes a change of scenery is exactly what a worker needs to increase productivity and expand their horizons. I personally love having the option of an unassigned workspace because new environments bring new ideas.
The challenge that Haworth gave us was to design the ideal classroom of the future. But our real challenge was incorporating everything we learned into a typical 4-walled classroom. So we built a foam core model, which can be configured into countless setups, just like we want our classroom to be able to.
For the next couple of images, take in consideration that we thought about this wall. It's where the windows would be placed because we like the idea of natural light coming in. So this is one of our setups for the collaborative workspace. But as individuals, we know that we also need our independent workspace. This is our setup for the individual or testing period.
This is the lecture setup. Now, we knew we couldn't completely get away from lecturers because teachers are always going to have to sit down their students and explain something to them before they go out and experience it. But we wanted it to be more inviting. We found that a circular layout such as this is more welcoming, and it also provides a room for collaboration, which is great for discussion.
One of our main problems with the current classroom is the assigned front of the classroom. We want to get rid of that altogether. So what we did was we put 2 projector screens on diagonal corners of the room so that wherever students are in the room, they can see what's being displayed. This also gives teachers the ability to teach from anywhere in the room.
With combining all these ideas, we'd like to introduce you to the Apprentice Classroom. An apprentice is someone who learns by doing, and that's what we want in the classroom of the future. The Apprentice Classroom provides workspaces for students to learn the skills they need in the workplaces of today and tomorrow.
The apprentice chair would be on casters to serve for mobility. It is stackable for space conservation, and it's comfortable to sit in, which is a huge factor in a student's learning. I know I have a really hard time focusing in class when the seats are awful.
The Apprentice Table is one very similar to this. It has wheels, so it's mobile. It has outlets here that pop up for students' use, and we'd like to move it to the front because we want to use the table space for projects and group work and collaboration. It also, oh, it's on the other side, guys. It also folds vertically for storage space.
We really wanted to keep whiteboards in the classroom due to their simplistic nature and the ability to display information to the class. The problem with modern day whiteboards, though, is they're bolted to the front of the classroom and only the teacher can use it. We wanted to put a whiteboard in every student's hands, so the whiteboard we envisioned would be able to attach to the table in order to provide a productive environment for the students to work, and then onto the wall so that they could share the information that they developed with their peers. Workwear was one product we wanted to incorporate, one Haworth product, sorry, into the working environment. It's a collaborative and presentation software that Haworth has developed. It's very intuitively designed in that it only shares one screen at a time so that there's no distractions, and you can actually have it so it displays 4 at a time so you can quickly cycle between different presentations and each student can get their information out there in a quick and efficient way. Haworth's raised flooring was also another thing we wanted to incorporate in the classroom. What it was originally designed for was to transport electricity and temperature control throughout a building in an efficient manner, but what we envisioned was actually putting storage into the Haworth raised flooring itself in the form of compartments that could be opened up with a hatch in the floor. These would be modular in that the teachers could also store whatever they wanted, the students could store what they wanted. It would also eliminate the need for lockers and storage in the room itself.
We want the Apprentice Classroom to be able for every student's needs, to fit every student's needs. So it would be accessible for wheelchairs. It would accommodate for learning disabilities like ADHD or any learning impairments. And it is also flexible and mobile for any visual or hearing impairments. While we were doing our research, we toured Holland High School and were able to talk to one of their teachers. One of the things she said is that they wanted to make their new building relevant for the 50 years to come. So we took that into consideration and we thought that the Apprentice Classroom should be adaptable and flexible for the next 50 plus years.
The Apprentice Classroom combines all the aspects of an effective workspace, and that makes the Apprentice Classroom collaborative, flexible, and mobile. The Apprentice Classroom also promotes innovation, encourages self-reliance, and provides independence for its students.
The Apprentice Classroom, with all of its integrated components, gives a design for classrooms now and into the future. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation today. We hope you enjoyed it. We are Team Haworth.
Chair we saw in the Apprentice Classroom, was that patterned off an existing chair, or how did you, is it an existing chair? in
Yeah,
line?
it's a Haworth chair and it's the very chair.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it had the wheels on it and everything?
Mhm.
Okay.
Did you guys do any testing with other students? Obviously, you guys have great experience in a high school setting. Did you try this out with any of your peers and see what they thought?
We did actually. We gave them kind of like a survey, I would say, on like both the chair types and the table, and we asked what their opinions were, and we got a lot of strong feedback that we then put into the presentation.
Great.
Did you take sound into consideration on the individual, when the people went into the individual mode? Did you take that into your thinking? Like that?
Yeah, actually we have like taller tables and stools, so they could be placed like for individual work. So that is one thing we saw.
When you did the lighting, you were looking at exterior, did you look at anything that was built into the room that, like we don't have any windows here?
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about any kind of lighting that would be other than window lights?
We found that natural lighting was the best if we could, we'd want natural lighting, but since we can't rebuild schools to have them have windows, we thought we could have lighting through the ceiling, so.
Could you give us an idea of what a typical classroom under the apprentice model would cost the school?
We don't have a rough estimate on how much it would cost. We do know it would be pricey, but it's an investment schools need to make because the schools need to be relevant in 50 years.
And as schools are integrating this technology, they aren't going to be able to use them effectively if they don't have an environment where they can. So if they want to invest in the technology of the future, they also need to invest in the classroom of the future.
Also, many schools in the last couple of years have been passing bonds in order to get technology in the classroom. And I think this could be used as a similar example that they would be able to pass a bond to update their classrooms themselves.
For example, we talked to West Ottawa and they just passed a $90 million bond used to upgrade their school.
Thank you.
When you designed it, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
In the national like furniture area, and I'm sure there's a lot of pedagogical approaches. Who do you think would need to support this in order for, you to market this?
We'd like to have Haworth definitely behind us, but then once they see that we want this classroom to model the workforce and prepare students, because that's what high schools and colleges are for, to prepare students for the world outside of class. And so once businesses see that we're preparing them to go and enter their business, we feel like they're going to come and support us.
What other technologies did you look at? You've got the office furniture, right, which is flexible and that's awesome. You can rearrange everything. And then you have the 2 monitors. But what other technologies, futuristic technologies, did you take a look
Haworth's
at?
workwear system was one of the technologies we incorporated. It's basically like a updated kind of brand new version of PowerPoint where you can share what's on your screen, and then it's a lot better with, there's no distractions, and it's just seamlessly going from person to person. So.
And it's moving in the wireless direction, which is going to help with the cords.
Did it was a fairly, the classrooms were dedicated pretty much to like kind of reimagining the lecture style. What about like hands-on or?
That was the collaborative. We wanted it to, the lecture style was in the circle to promote, the teacher being able to connect with all the students without having them sit in rows and not being able to connect with the students in the back. But we have the collaborative spaces, which are group tables, and the teacher doesn't really have a desk at the front of the room. They don't have a space where they have to stay, so then they can collaborate with all the students and move around. It's very mobile.
Would there be like storage and things for other things that you might need for hands-on type activities?
That would be stored in the floor. We were thinking, like an example would be if you're in an English class and you do book units, you don't need the storage to store all the books that you're going to use in future classroom, like in future group units. You could store them in the floor.
Pretty cool. Did you feel, when you addressed the technology thing of what schools are adopting technology, did you feel confident that this was going to be a 50-year solution in terms of the types of things you use today, iPads and?
Yes, for today and for the future. What we really sought out to do was make it adaptable. So not only is it going to be able to support the devices of today, it also should be able to support the devices of the future, because it's becoming more and more mobile. The teachers moving around, the students are moving around with their devices in their hands. So we wanted to be able to have the teacher and student be able to move around, present from literally anywhere in the class.
So that's going to unfortunately have to be our last question, but let's give it up for our team.